Hey riders and racers, and welcome back for another live stream. Today's live stream is the best body weight for a motocross racer. So when I was racing, the whole thought process, and I feel like it's still the same, is it's all about power to weight ratio. Okay, you want to try and drop your body weight down as low as you can, because that means you've got less weight on the bike, and if we can get less weight on the bike, that means the bike's going to be faster. And so theoretically, you should be getting better results because you've got less weight to lug around for a full race. Now, that was my thought process for majority of my riding and racing. So I'd try and do a lot of cardio stuff, a lot of cardio work, try and avoid weight training because I didn't want to get big and get heavier. I was always focused on trying to be light. So I'm about 6 foot, almost 6'2", so reasonably tall. And I was about 68 kilos when I was riding. Okay, which is pretty, hey Ben, which is pretty light. For someone who's of my height, that's reasonably light. Now, some of the guys I was riding against and racing against were shorter than me, and also much lighter than me as well. So there was guys I was racing with that were like 60 kilos, 62 kilos, okay, 63 kilos, which is ridiculously light when you're on a bike. Now, from a power to weight ratio point of view, being lighter sounds like the best answer. Okay, or the best solution. It makes sense. But there's a few things that we, as racers, we don't take into account when we're doing that. So if we were riding in a straight line, so if we were a drag racer, okay, and we're going from point A to point B in a straight line, there's not really any fitness involved in doing that. Okay, so let's say a 10-second run or however long it is. Yes, you want to take as much weight off the bike as you can, and that's going to help it to perform better. But the thing is, when we're racing motocross and when we're racing enduro, is we're not going in a straight line, okay? We're going around corners, we're going over jumps, and the track is also changing, okay? The track gets quite rough. You've got a whole heap of braking bumps, you've got whoops, you've got a bike that's trying to kick you off, and you're trying to hang on to it and go around the track as fast as you possibly can. So being light may help you off the start. You may get really, really good starts. But the problem is there's a fine line between being lean and being at the right body weight, and then being too light. And the problem that comes is when you're too light, you actually lose a lot of your strength. Okay, when you lose weight beyond a certain point. So when you lose a lot of your strength, what starts to happen is, yes, your power to weight ratio on the bike is going to be better, so the bike should go faster because there's less weight on it, all things being equal. But the problem that you're going to run into is you're not going to have the strength and the endurance there to be able to muscle the bike around for a full ride or a full race. And so what happens is when your strength starts to drop off and you don't feel as strong, the bike feels a lot heavier for you. Okay, and when the bike starts to feel a lot heavier, you use a lot more energy. So when you use more energy, you fatigue quicker. Okay, and your endurance isn't as good. You can't keep pushing like you could if you're a little bit stronger. From being a little bit heavier. So now you're probably thinking, okay, well, how do I know what the sweet spot is for my particular frame, my particular size, my particular type of riding? And that is a tough question to answer because there's no like ideal body weight. There's no like, oh, if you get to 60 kilos, that's the best weight, or if you get to 70 kilos, that's the best weight for a 450. Every person's body is different. Okay. And I learnt this when I first started doing fitness competitions. So I don't do them anymore, but this was about maybe 10, 11 years ago. I started doing a lot of fitness competitions as I was getting towards the end of my riding and racing. And that got me started in strength and conditioning and the stuff that I do now. And so my thought process was always I had to be light, right? You had to be light to be fit. Light meant fit for me. And so when I started doing these fitness competitions, there was these guys there that were a lot bigger than me that had obviously done like some bodybuilding or done a lot of weight training. You could tell just by looking at them. Okay, they would have been, I don't know, 10, 20 kilos, 10, 15, 20 kilos heavier than I was at the time. I was only 68 kilos. So these guys are, 80 or 90 kilo guys. And I would look at them and I'd be like, fuck, they're huge, especially in comparison to me at my little 68. And in my mind, I was like, oh, of course I'll beat these guys. Okay, like even when I was training at the gym with the people I was training, I was like, oh, of course I'll beat them. Like, look at the size of him. Like, he's all, big and bulky. He's not going to be able to move well. Like, when we go for our runs, we had these 1.2K runs we'd do around where the gym was, where I'd train. I was like, oh, of course I'll beat those those big guys. Like, they got another, look at the size of them. Like, they're not going to be able to move. Their cardio is going to be fucking terrible. I was like, I'm going to be way fitter than these guys. I've been doing all these RPM sessions for years, been swimming for years. Like, of course I'm going to beat them. And a funny thing happened. I got hosed. And that really broke that belief for me. Okay, I had this belief that light was fast, light was fit. But then when I saw these people that were a lot heavier than me and a lot bigger than me, I was like, shit, like maybe I can get fitter and get stronger and get a little bit bigger at the same time. And maybe even getting bigger or getting stronger might even help me with my cardio and help me with my fitness. And so that's when I started to focus then on the number. Instead of focusing on my body weight, I shifted my focus to my performance. So that was my key indicator. So I stopped worrying about the scales. I stopped trying to eat a specific amount of calories every day or trying to count out how many pieces of celery I was having. I stopped all that stuff. And all I did is I looked at my performance. I was like, okay, is my rowing getting better? Is my running getting better? Is my strength getting better? Is my gymnastic stuff getting better? All the stuff that got tested with these fitness competitions. I use that as my benchmark and as my tool. And so when I've been at my fittest, when I've been focusing a lot on fitness, I've been at my fittest when I've been at around the 90 to 95 kilo mark. That's when I've had the highest levels of strength, the highest levels of cardio and conditioning, the best levels of stamina, the best levels of endurance, optimal recovery, being able to tolerate volume a lot better. All of those things were greatly increased when I was at that 90 to 95 kilo range. Now, that's a lot of weight to put on from where I was at 68 kilos. Okay. So although in that context, I may be 20 kilos heavier, 22 kilos heavier, than where I was when I first started. My fitness and my endurance is a lot better. Now, for riding a bike, you might think, shit, 20 kilos is a reasonable amount of weight, which it definitely is. So what I need to look at that time I was riding a 250F. And I probably really needed, to ride at 90 kilos, if I was to go back racing when I've been at my fittest, I would need to go back and probably ride a 450 or a 350 for that type of weight. But that comes down to your build and your body. So generally, if you're on a 250F, you're going to find it, and I'm generalizing here, there's always outliers with everything. You're probably going to find it easier. You're going to find it easier to ride a 250 if you're someone who is shorter, okay, and not as tall. So I'm nearly 6'2", which is probably, I guess you could say on the taller end, taller than average, definitely. So if you're shorter and your body weight is around the 70 to 80 kilo mark, or probably more around the 70, 75 kilo mark, you'd probably be better off riding a 250. If you are heavier, if you're above that 75 kilo mark, let's say you're maybe 85 kilos or 90 kilos, then you're probably better off riding a 450. But in saying that your body weight currently doesn't dictate where you should be training. Your body weight when you're at your fittest, okay, and when you feel your best, should dictate where you're riding, okay, or the type of bike that you're riding. Kilos, right? But you're 20 kilos overweight, then that doesn't mean I'll go ride a 450. That means drop 20 kilos of body weight, right? So the way that you find your optimal body weight is having a look at how your training is going and how you feel. And then if you're eating correctly, if you're eating to perform, your body will find where it needs to be to perform at its best. And that's what I did when I was working purely on fitness. I just didn't worry about the weight anymore. And I worried about my body weight, and I just focused on my performance. I focused on my numbers. I focused on my training, focused on how I was feeling, how I was recovering. And then my body kind of found its way to where it wanted to be weight-wise. So that's something that I would recommend for you guys is you need to be lean, okay? If you want to be riding at your best, your body weight, you need to be lean. And the way that you know that you're lean is you should have some level of abdominal definition when you're looking in the mirror. If you don't have any level of abdominal definition, then you probably have some body fat that you need to lose, and there's room for improvement there for you to be able to get lighter. But all in all, what I did is I just focused on feel, okay, and performance. That's what I focused on, and then my body found its own way. So some of you might find, and we see this in a lot of weight sports, right? In weightlifting, even like in UFC, if you guys follow any fighting sports at all, where there's weight divisions. Some people perform better in different weight divisions than they do other ones. And so specifically in UFC, there's some fighters that go up and down the weights. They're trying to fight lighter, they're trying to fight heavier to win different divisions. And some of them do really, really well in some divisions and really shit in other divisions. And that's because every person's body type, genetics has a specific weight that it likes to be at. Doesn't mean you can't go to other weights. Doesn't mean you can't change. But everyone has a body weight that where they perform at their best. Okay, where their body feels their best. And the great thing about motocross and enduro is we don't have weight classes. So not like UFC or weightlifting where you have to, try and find a weight category that works for you. You don't have to worry about fitting into someone else's categories that have been created. What you can fit into is your own category. Okay, finding your own body weight that's going to work for you and allow you to perform at your best. But at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a certain body weight on the bike. We're looking at what's the body weight that you have that is a reasonably low body fat percentage that allows you to perform at your best, which means you're really strong, you're really fit, your endurance is awesome, your stamina is awesome, and also you can recover as well. Because there's no point in losing an extra 5 kilos if you don't have 5 kilos to lose, just for the sake of trying to make the bike go faster. If that means you can't hang on to the bike for a full race and you start getting arm pump and you fatigue quickly, because all right, the bike might be a little bit quicker, power to weight ratio might be a little bit better, but at the end of the day, like I said at the start, motocross isn't it's not a drag race. Okay, enduro isn't a drag race. We're doing 20-minute motos, half-hour motos, 3-4 hour enduros. So you've got to make sure that your body can actually go the distance, because that's where the results are. The results aren't the person to get to the first corner first, or the person who can do the fastest lap. It's the person who gets to the end first. So to get to the end, you've first got to be able to finish well. So if you're just trying to lose weight for the sake of losing weight and you feel low on energy all the time and you feel like shit and you can't focus and your concentration is terrible, your endurance is terrible, and you start getting arm pump, then it's probably a sign that maybe you've gone a little bit too far and power to weight ratio it's important, but it's just not everything. So it's just food for thought for you guys. Hopefully you found it useful. If you found it helpful, please give the video a like. If any of you guys would like some help with body weight and getting your body weight down and getting ready for racing, feel free to apply to work with me with the link that I put in the comments below. Otherwise, hopefully you guys enjoyed it and have a great weekend. Behave yourselves. See you guys.